Now we come to Jesus' warning in Matthew 24. Jesus warned us that at the end times it would be just as it was in the day of Noah and Lot. Matthew 24 says, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." You can read it again in Luke 26-30. Those that postulate the fallen angel view will say that if we want to fully understand what Jesus really meant by the statement "as the days of Noah were," then we must first understand what was happening back in Genesis 6. They state that Jesus' words concerning eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage should not be considered life as usual, but the activity of the Nephilim on the earth in those days. They state it was not about people having their daily needs met, but it was a reference to the activity of the Nephilim eating humans and animals. The reference to marriage and giving in marriage appears to be a veiled reference to the sons of God taking the daughters of men as wives. Was Jesus giving us some sort of cryptic message about the days of Noah and Lot? Is it something that we have to deeply delve into and search out so that we can gain some insight into what Jesus was really talking about, what he really meant? Did Jesus clearly spell out exactly what he was talking about in those verses, or was he inferring or alluding to something else? Do you think that when Jesus gave this warning, his listeners' first thoughts were, "Oh no, the fallen angels will be invading the earth again. They're going to corrupt our DNA and turn us into hybrids"? Of course not. That's ridiculous. But that's what they're teaching today. They're teaching that there's going to be, that the Nephilim are coming again. Anyway, Jesus' warning was not about some fallen angels or some sort of hybrid being invading the earth in the last days. The subject of angels is conspicuously absent. In their view of Genesis 6, they see God becoming provoked and sending the flood in an attempt to rid the world of these Nephilim giants who are corrupting the human bloodline. In other words, God did not send the flood because humanity had become so sinful and rebellious, but because Nephilim had messed up his creation. In their view, Noah wasn't saved because he was righteous. Oh no. He was saved because his DNA was pure. He had the right genes. If you think about their view, God failed because there still seems to be giants or Nephilim after the flood. Jesus mentioned 4 things that will be taking place prior to his return: eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage. There is no mention of an outside force planning to corrupt the human gene pool. The clear message is that people, sinners, will be doing the normal things right up to the time judgment comes, just like they did in Noah and in Lot's day. The flood was all about clearing the earth of sinful, rebellious, wicked people. If the flood had anything to do with anything other than man's sinfulness, Jesus would have clearly stated it, but he is silent about fallen angels and mutants. His warning is about taking him seriously and preparing yourselves spiritually, watching and being ready for yourselves for his return. The fallen angel teaching overlooks the seriousness of man's sinfulness and rebellion against a righteous God and places the blame on an outside enemy corrupting the human race. These so-called teachers are preparing their students for the return of the Nephilim giants and fallen angels, and not for the return of Jesus. And there's very little talk about man's sin and rebellion, but they sure seem to stress having the proper DNA. This teaching twists the scriptures and turns the gospel message upside down. In Matthew 24, verses 4-31, Jesus plainly gives a list of the signs to watch for in the end times. The days of Noah is not listed as one of the signs to watch for. If anything, in the days of Noah, if it was a sign to watch for, Jesus would have listed it with the other signs, but he doesn't mention it until way down in verse 37. His mentioning Noah is used to describe the surprise of the people who were not ready for the end of the world. In Matthew 24:43 and 44, Jesus continues to reiterate this warning to be watchful, saying if the owner of a house had been watching, he would not have allowed the thief to enter. So be ready. Jesus tells the disciple he could easily return in an hour that they will not be expecting, unless they are ready and watching. Matthew 24:45 to 51, Jesus reiterates that they should watch, and with the parable of the servant whose master is away, Jesus also warns against falling into irresponsible or sinful behavior by not having the attitude of a responsible or respectful servant who is watching and anticipating his master's soon arrival at any time. God therefore intentionally passed up on a perfect opportunity to give this, as the days of Noah, marrying and giving in marriage topic, a clear prophetic significance as a sign. If he was really referring to the days where fallen angels fell, he would have said something here. But no, he keeps telling people, watch, wait, be ready for his return, not for fallen angels, not for Nephilim returning.